On the first day of Christmas, my true love came to me.
Hi, my name is Bragg.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love came to me.
2 plus 8 is 10.
Hi, my name is Bragg.
On the third day of Christmas, my true love came to me.
3 reruns of what's happening.
2 plus 8 is 10.
Hi, my name is Bragg.
On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love came to me.
Oh man, I've been muted this entire time.
Oh.
That's just awesome. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Welcome to the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan. Right next to me is Jason, my son. Right behind me is Brandon Grimm.
Hello.
DJ is not here tonight because he has pneumonia, unfortunately. He's not doing well. It's possible that I won't even get to see him this year like I was supposed to, which really sucks. I might not be able to make that trip now.
Yeah.
So wishing him a speedy recovery, of course, but that's why he's not been here the last couple of shows. He is still working on recovering, but at least he knows what it is now. He had a bad fever on the trip he made last week, and yeah, I was doing this this intro and I wasn't looking at comments and I didn't even realize I was muted for like the 2 minutes I was talking. So that's the best. But anyway, so hopefully DJ will be with us again real soon as we come back from the break. I'm gonna take a couple weeks off, so this is going to be the last live show for the next couple weeks, at least the last regular live show. We may come in and do something impromptu the week after Christmas if the spirit moves us, and I might be doing some more game streams and things like that, but by and large I'm going to be taking the next couple of weeks off. So if I show up, it'll just be for random fun things. I've got a video coming up tomorrow with me and Eric. We did a whopping hour and a half last night on all of the big Marvel and Star Wars news and stuff. I asked him to weigh in on some of that, and so it's just kind of a catch up with Eric show, so look forward to that. I just got that done rendering. I was planning on putting that up today, but it took a while to get it rendered, so that'll go up tomorrow, and that'll be our last kind of big Christmas thing. But anyway, so it's the Merry Everything show. I've started saying that this year. You know, you like lots of different people celebrate different things. So you have Christmas, and you have Hanukkah, and you have Kwanzaa, and everything else. And instead of Happy Holidays, I've decided to try to get Merry Everything to catch on. So feel free to use that. Merry Everything. You guys.
User in me, because I was going to ask you if you'd let me use that.
Yeah, I like it. The only thing I don't like about it is you almost have to explain it to people, where it's like, Merry Everything, what does that even mean? But at least on the screen, you know that it's Christmas related because of the spelling of Mary, so it's not like you're getting hitched to everything.
I've always pronounced Mary just slightly differently than like Mary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, say it again. So how do you...
Mary
Uh-huh.
and Mary.
So it sounds to me like you're pronouncing them exactly the same, but you're just putting them in slightly different registers.
Mary.
Yeah, that's exactly the same pronunciation in that register.
There's an air.
I'm not hearing any difference there, man.
Mary
Maybe I'm not picking up on the new.
Mary.
Nope, it's exactly the same.
Oh,
yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
No, it's like
So being back that far, you might want to speak up just a little bit, Brandon.
Sure.
it's like B
Yeah,
flat
sorry, we're sharing a microphone.
on saxophone. You can do it a bunch of different ways, but it sounds a little bit different each way you do it.
That's fair. Well, to my ear at first, I could start to tell the nuance difference a little bit right toward the end. Anyway, so earlier today, I put my feelers out on social media and gave you guys the chance to pick the lead-in topic for tonight. And instead of picking any one of those as the topic we're going to open with, I decided to to do kind of a little rapid fire and answer a number of them, because a lot of them were kind of easy, quick, lickety-split things, but didn't make a lot of sense to do a whole 10 or 15 minutes on, or just weren't appropriate enough for today. So we're going to do a whole bunch of those, or at least a few of them real quick. And then we'll start taking questions from the audience. Jason's going to be moderating. Brandon's going to help him out. And so if you want to make sure that we see your questions pre-written, you can say at Geekvolution The Next Generation. That is Jason's channel, and that's the handle that he's operating under this evening. Yeah, I want to say thanks to Blue Dragon 5 for letting me know that I was muted, because I would have talked even longer if I hadn't gotten that. I was like, why is somebody messaging me on Skype? Oh, that's because I'm doing my job poorly. That's what you have when you don't have a moderator. As always, if you want to make sure that your question or topic gets discussed on air, you can leave us a super chat in any dollar amount, and we are 90% these days funded by the audience, so we sure appreciate that. Anybody that has or ever will do that, but if you don't feel the need to do that, or you don't want to, or you just can't, never fear. We'll take as many pre-written questions as we can throughout the show, and we appreciate you just dropping in and hanging out with us. Brandon, how has your Christmas season been going? I guess the big question every year is, does it feel like Christmas?
So interesting you should actually say that, because what I was going to say, first words out of my mouth was, I don't feel like it's felt like Christmas at all.
Yeah. Maybe you did say that the other day. I forget. But yeah,
I did mention that the other day, because I had thought it on the way over here for Thursday, and you guys were watching Muppet Christmas Carol, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and one of my favorite movies, and one of my favorite Muppet movies.
Yeah.
It's a trifecta. So, like, it was right in the middle of the song where they mentioned that it feels like Christmas. And I was like, oh, that's kind of apropos. Like, that's the first time I felt like it felt like
you
Christmas.
didn't remotely until then. Well, I guess the moral of the story is watch a lot of TV at Christmas.
Well, I've been watching late night network TV, but like...
Well, no, I know, but I mean Christmas stuff is what I'm saying. Yeah.
The SNL Christmas special,
But then you can get sucked into the commercialism of it too much. You know what I mean? Then it can become about all the things that it's not supposed to be about, while simultaneously you're having like the true meaning of Christmas message hit over your head, where the message really is, toy commercial. It's kind of like Power Rangers and teamwork. Like, the message of that show is teamwork, but it's really buy toys. It's kind of like that with nearly every Christmas thing.
So that's kind of why I stick to watching Christmas episodes of the shows that I like. For instance, like Robot Chicken, or, Rick and Morty, they had one. Or like SNL, their Christmas special. I like to stick to kind of the anti-establishment, if you will.
Yeah.
Christmas stuff suits me, but it's finally starting to feel like Christmas.
It's weird because this year apparently a whole bunch of YouTube channels have been reviewing Muppet Christmas Carol just all at once for some reason. I don't know why this has been the year for that particular movie, but when I posted my review of that, somebody immediately was like, that's weird, Nostalgia Critic just did that, and then somebody else said everybody's been doing that, and I didn't know. I mean, I don't keep up with a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of review channels especially, and I didn't know about that, and the only reason I did it was because somebody requested it. So it's really weird that, and he requested it months ago, so it's not like Lone Wolf, or at least a couple months ago. He got that one in actually, quite a bit earlier than it was his turn, and he was like, I know it's going to be a while, but see if you can work this in at Christmas. And I was like, sure. And then and that was about when his turn came up. Because right now, a quick plug for that. So I do requests on a weekly basis for movies and comics, and it's the $15 tier on Patreon. We have about 12 to 15 people signed up for that right now. So if you're in that rotation, you get one every 3 months or so. And if you want to jump in there and just throw in one and just pledge for 1 month, you can do that. And I'll get to it after the current rotation goes around. So it'll be later, but you only have to pledge the 1 month. Anyway, so that's how those happen. And that was just a thing he wanted me to review, and then it was before all. So if I'd done it early, I would have been the first one. I could have totally been the first channel this year to get that review out, and I wasn't. But yeah.
Well, it makes it even better just because you had a different impetus than probably other people, and some people probably did it because they saw other people doing it.
Jedi Knight, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The commercialism of the commercialization, I should say, of Christmas has made me very cynical about the modern version of the holiday. It just feels so artificial now. I sometimes feel that way myself. less with like my family and in a more isolated way, but just going out and leaving my house or seeing the way it's handled on the internet. I do have that as well. That's actually a thing that we're going to cover if we have time tonight on After Dark. So that's one of the topics I've got listed for that. So pop in there if you're so inclined. Quick plug for that as well. Tonight we're going to do Captain Logan After Dark right after the show. So we'll be broadcasting for around an hour and a half, and then after that, Brandon and I, Jason's going to go to bed, but Brandon and I are going to do Captain Logan After Dark, and we're going to watch some of my favorite Christmas cartoons tonight, and then we're also going to do a little bit of discussion about some Christmas-related and other topics, Brandon. So look forward to that if you're a patron.
Probably space would be one of those other topics. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Space? That's one of Brandon's topics? Okay, cool. That's a real broad topic, and I don't know if we'll have the space to talk about space, but hopefully we will.
We'll bring it down to Earth.
You mean like the space up there, or the space like around us?
It's actually a little
that
bit
got
of both. How
real
about that?
Metaphysical all of a sudden.
Okay.
Jason kind of guessed a little bit
He just
about
nailed
what
it.
I'm going to talk about.
So anyway, if you are not currently a patron and you want to keep hanging out with us after the show, I don't know why you do that. I'm just kidding. But if you want to keep hanging out with us, jump over to patreon.com/geekvolution. The $2 tier gets you access to that. And I'm going to go ahead and start answering some things. I got a super chat that already came in, but I'm going to go ahead and do these lead-in topics real quick. So feel free to start throwing your questions in. Of course, Jason's already got quite a few, I'm sure. And I'm going to go through some of these pre-written before the show questions, and I imagine some of the things that are coming up that you're seeing right now, Jason, are some of these already. So I thought since they were here already, we'd hit some of them. I'm not going to do all of them, guys, but here are a few. So Ryan Cox, favorite and least favorite Christmas movies you've each seen. This comes up every year, of course, and I get to be a broken record. Like, we've done Christmas shows almost every year since I started, so I'm always worried about throwing out the same answers I give every year for things, but they don't change that much. So Brandon, name a great Christmas movie and a Christmas movie you don't like at all. So, I mean,
Go. This is going to offend a lot of people, but when I say I'm not a huge fan of Die Hard, I wanted to like it. I think it's good, but I'm not like this huge fan. But people call that a Christmas movie, and
right.
One of my, I just don't care for that. One of my favorites is, as I mentioned earlier, The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
That's definitely up there, and I'm a big fan of A Christmas Story.
I hate A Christmas Story,
Yeah.
like with a burning passion. Yeah. That was gonna be on my list. I think it's kind of cynical. I think it's mean-spirited to kids. I've never liked that movie. I didn't understand it growing up. It kind of hurt my feelings growing up. I've never understood the love for that movie. And yeah, I'll get hate for that too. But I get hate about it every year. I always bring this up. I've never liked that movie, so deal with it. It's just how I feel about it.
I mean, I can just remember watching it as long as I can remember. So that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, there's a nostalgia thing there. And the first time I saw it, it bothered me. I don't know.
And then I argue also that The Nightmare Before Christmas it's almost more of a Christmas story than anything. And
it's not. But sure.
For me it is, but that's my favorite actually.
Dan Davis says the mean-spiritedness of it is why people like that movie. Yeah, that's what I think. Solar Dragon cynical humor can be funny. Yeah, but it's just not my thing, and I've liked that in some things, but just not that. I don't know. And I haven't seen it in a lot of years, so I could change my mind on it if I watched it again. But I'll also anger people by saying the other movie I would put on that list I just absolutely can't stand is Jingle All the Way. This comes up every year. I'm really tired of talking about it. Jason, have you seen enough Christmas movies to have a favorite and a least favorite?
Probably.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have lots of favorites. Of course, Muppets Christmas Carol. I really like The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Oh sure, yeah.
Have I seen that?
And
that claymation stuff, yeah.
And I like what's it called? Die Hard.
What is it? The Ratzenberger stuff? Is that? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember if that's if that's how that's pronounced or what. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I like Die Hard. And then the first thing that comes to mind, I would have to think about it a lot, about something that I really, really hate. But the first thing that comes to mind is Home Alone 2.
I mean, it's not good.
It's not. It's hilarious because it's Home Alone, but it just That and the first half of Home
It's
Alone
just
3.
cookie cutter. It's that exact.
Home Alone 3, the first half. The second half is just Home Alone. It's good, but the first half is just boring.
I didn't know you ever saw Home Alone
and
3. That is better than it has any right to be, but like...
It's boring, and it's so much like government stuff, and it's just I don't like the first part of that.
OEW says you've got good taste, Jason. Good job, man. That was a legit response.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
I remembered another one I didn't care for, which was Jack Frost.
Yeah, I never saw that. It looked like terrible CGI nonsense, so I didn't bother with it. That's Michael Keaton, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
There's a couple of Jack Frost movies, so I don't know which one you're talking about, but if you're talking about just the mainstream, not the horror one, then we're talking about that Michael Keaton movie. But
sounds right.
My favorite Christmas movie continues to be the original Miracle on 34th Street.
Never seen it.
And you got it. It's wonderful. But yeah,
There's...
Oh, no, I've seen Miracle on 34th Street. I thought you said It's a Wonderful Life for a second.
I didn't. I did not
I have
say
seen
that.
No, you
and
didn't.
I
I've
do...
seen
But that's also in that. I also love that.
I have seen Miracle.
DJ, Home Alone 3 is boring.
DJ.
Yeah, DJ just...
Oh, is he in there? Yeah. Hi, DJ. How dare you besmirch Home Alone 3? How you doing, DJ? We're ruining the show without you here, man. I cannot believe I did a 2-minute opening without the mic on. I had my comments in the wrong place was part of it. Usually, as I'm opening the show, I'm looking at comments in case people can't see me, and I had them in a different place, and I couldn't see them as well, and yeah, my eyesight gets the better of me. It's a problem. Okay, let's see what else is in here. This is not Christmas related. Speedy Vescu, when MCU reboots X-Men, should they start with a big movie or go straight to a Disney Plus series? I could see doing it either way. It kind of depends on what character or characters they'd be using. Like, I think it could be kind of neat to start with a like singular character movie and then branch out from there. Not that I need like an origin thing where it's like Professor X building the X-Men in the first place. We've actually never done that, but we have with First Class, I guess. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we have done that. That's what First Class was. But I just mean we've never like opened a continuity that way. Like that was sort of a soft reboot, like flashback movie. So anyway, but like we've never started from there, I guess was the point I was making. But it might be interesting to start with a singular character thing. But I could see doing it in either place, on the big screen or the small screen. I would love both. I still think it would be nice if we had more like, and we're sort of doing this now with some of the announced Disney Plus shows, but I would like to see more, like smaller character-focused, more intimate things done on the small screen, and then some of those characters are all brought together in big event films. But it looks like some of the event things we're also going to be doing in Disney Plus shows now, so it's hard to say what the next Avengers even looks like. That's not slated. There's not been any talk about it. I don't know if Secret Invasion is technically going to be an Avengers miniseries, or if it's more of just a S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, since Nick Fury is supposed to be kind of the main character of that. So I don't know what that ends up looking like, but as far as, but I just mentioned that with X-Men because I think that would be a nice thing to do where you had maybe 2 or 3 different shows with different characters, maybe even different X-Men teams or different X-type teams, in X-Force and Excalibur, whatever it is you wanted to do, and then bring them together on the big screen. But I think that of all the properties they own is the thing where they should be doing that in both places. Jason, what do you think? Like, because you and I haven't talked about this. Do you have any opinion on immediately what the first X-Men thing should be, or how they should integrate that in the MCU? Because there's been a big debate on the channel and everywhere in the comics and superhero sphere for months and months now. Is like with the pre-established MCU, how do you bring the X-Men into that in the first place?
I don't know. I kind of want like an X Factor thing, or like maybe have like an X. I would want them to do a show first. Maybe have like just X-Men or an X Factor show. Or and they probably will not do this. Do like a this would probably be like rated R for like TV show.
Yeah.
a romantic show about Rogue.
I could see it, Rogue and Gambit?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I could see it. I mean, a lot of people love that relationship.
Yeah.
That's actually a great idea, Jason.
Yeah.
Sure. Jason is smoking it tonight. I think I'm just going to let Jason field all the questions first. Christian Ogden, the Snyder Cut is officially releasing in March. Yeah, that news came out. While I'm skeptical of the quality, I can't deny I'm ready to experience this thing. I'm ready to get it over with and find out. Because, I mean, I am really curious about what that's going to look like, but I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm not like chomping at the bit to see it as fast as possible as I am kind of impatient to see what the world looks like after it. I'm really nervous, and I talked about this the other day, about how much the DCEU ends up embracing Snyder's vision after this, and if we go back to a Snyder world again in DC, and I really need to see how that performs and what the immediate knee-jerk reaction from Warner Brothers ends up being. Because if that's popular, you'll start hearing about a million like new properties that they're planning on doing like a week and a half after that drops. That always happens. Remember when we had like 4 different Joker movies allegedly in the pipeline at the exact same time? It's gonna be like that again. Everybody just wait for it. And I kind of just need to see what the atmosphere of the world post that looks like. That's got me kind of nervous. I'm gonna go over to Facebook here. What's up,
Can I ask
Brandon?
a question?
Yeah.
So with director's cuts and things like, say, the Donner cut of Superman.
Yeah.
Was that created later to like be that thing, or did that already exist and then they just released it?
Well, no, they went back to what footage they had that he shot that they never used.
Okay.
And then they had to fill in with Lester footage from the original Superman 2 because he didn't get to shoot his whole movie. He got fired halfway in the middle of making it. But he was making 1 and 2 at the same time. So that's why they had footage from Superman 2, and there was enough there. That was the thing nobody ever thought that they would see, and it was kind of a big legend where it was like how much of that was filmed, and people knew there were rumors about certain scenes that had been shot in different directions that it went, and it was kind of, I think even the turning the world around thing was kind of legendary. It was like, where was that supposed to go? Originally that was supposed to go at the end of 2, but the studio forced them to put it at the end of 1, so if you watch the Donner cut, it happens twice, and you have to ignore the ending of the first movie and imagine it happened differently.
Okay.
Because you wouldn't have had them both. So, like, a lot of people swear by the Donner cut and say they won't go back to Lester. I don't have that because there still is not the definitive cut of that movie, and it's not possible. But yeah, Brandon, I mean, like, I don't know if you know when that came out, but, like, it couldn't have been created for then because, like, everybody was too old to shoot again, and Christopher Reeve was in a wheelchair, and, like, it couldn't have been created from the ground up. That comes out in like 2006. I mean, like, it was mid-2000s.
Well,
they go back to the vault and they grab. I mean, this was all stuff that was shot in like 1976.
So, well, sure, but I guess where I was going with that was how much of that story is paralleled by the Snyder cut here, and it seems like there's a little bit of that, based on what you said about the Donner cut and what the footage was like.
Yeah, I mean,
or surrounding it.
It's an obvious comparison. They're both things that you didn't think that you'd ever see, but this is just happening a lot earlier, but for completely different reasons. And Snyder didn't get to finish his movie for also very different reasons than Richard Donner did. Donner got fired. Snyder left because of family problems. And there was a big crisis in his family, and he had to leave two weeks before it was done shooting or something. And when they brought in Whedon, he changed like a bunch of stuff and didn't just add footage, but took a lot of it out and only used about 20% of Snyder's footage. It's a very, very different situation.
Gotcha.
It's only similar in that they're both different, like wildly different cuts. But you have that with some other things as well, like Daredevil.
All right.
Let's see, what else? Matthew McLean, Villains for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If we're not... So this is a pipe dream. I'm not expecting this, especially because I know that he already wrote his script like before he got fired, and they're, I think, more or less still using the same script, but Gunn's original script. But I would really love to see Galactus, of course, and now that they have the rights to that, like they could do it now, and if they're not doing that for that first Fantastic Four movie, I think it would be cool to introduce him there and maybe do some other, like, even bigger Galactus story later or something, or do something with Silver Surfer where Galactus is in the background, but you use the Surfer as kind of the villain. Or at least the antagonist for that piece, because it's really high time that now that we have the rights back at Disney, that we put those things back together, because it feels so funky having a Marvel Cosmic Universe without Galactus and Silver Surfer. So, I mean, in a perfect world, that's what I'd like to see. I'm trying to think of what Annihilus, I guess, is a thing. I mean, there's all kinds of, like, crazy, cosmic stuff you can do. Blue Dragon 5 says Adam Warlock. I would really expect Adam Warlock in that. I don't know if he would be the villain by himself, because I think there's kind of a lot of different ways you can do that. And it's hilarious because they kind of introduced Adam Warlock in two totally different, contradictory ways. So I have no idea how they're going to finally use him when they get to him, but it would be really strange if he wasn't there. I also hope that that kind of original Guardians team that they put back together at the end of that, it factors in some way, and that they can get Stallone back and stuff like that. And maybe give Rosenbaum some lines this time. This is going to be the last one I do before we go to the live chat, guys. Nicholas Robinson. Interested in hearing you rank Babylon 5, DS9, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, Farscape, and Firefly, and have you watched The Expanse? I've only seen the pilot of The Expanse, and it's, 4 or 5 seasons in now? I think maybe 5, and I don't know if that's still going, if it ended or got canceled or what, but I do need to sit down and finally start watching that. I loved that pilot. It was just too relentless and depressing for the mood I was in right then, so I didn't keep going with it, but I want to, so of course I can't rank that. And I'm not comfortable ranking Farscape because I've not seen enough of it. I've seen, like, most of the first season, but it was a million years ago. So I don't feel comfortable putting that in a ranking, but I'm happy to rank the rest of them. And I've not seen everything Stargate, but I've seen probably a good third to half of SG-1, and I've seen all of Atlantis, which I like a lot, and I've seen at least half. Did I ever get into the second season of the last one of what is that, Stargate Universe? I don't even remember. No, I think I did, because it was I remember it being a really weird cliffhanger and kind of shift they did into that show. But Universe was weird because it was kind of just Battlestar Galactica in the Stargate universe, and they changed the tone of it like massively, and it just didn't even feel like the same world. It didn't quite fit. It wasn't like Discovery with the rest of Star Trek bad, and it wasn't bad either. It just it was a good show. I actually really liked it, but it was a really strange tonal shift. Anyway, so yeah, I will go ahead and make the attempt real quick of ranking those things.
And I can do that too.
Well, you haven't seen all of these things.
You've
seen all but Battlestar Galactica, actually.
And Farscape.
Yeah, but I'm not ranking Farscape. Now, you've not seen all of those, but you've at least sampled each of those.
I've sampled each.
Yeah, sure.
So...
but yeah, I would put Babylon 5 right at the top of that list. And then right underneath that would be DS9. And then it would be Firefly. And then it would be Gate, mostly for Atlantis. But I mean, I like SG-1. And then after that is Battlestar. And I mean, I liked Battlestar fine. I only watched it through once, and it was a long time ago. But just for my own taste and sensibilities, I feel like that's the way I would have to rank it.
So you like Babylon 5 better than DS9?
Yeah, and it is the superior show.
I did not even know.
It absolutely
Babylon
is,
5?
Story-wise. I said Babylon 5.
I know.
Not Battlestar. Babylon 5 at the top. I put Battlestar at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
But he's having me rank 5 really good shows. So I mean, none of those are bad. There's not one that easily goes to the bottom. They're all very by the time I got to the middle of season 4, Brandon, and I'm not totally finished that show yet. 5 is apparently very strange because they thought that they were getting canceled, and so they ended it, and then they had to tack on another season, and so it's it's apparently watches kind of weird. But by the time I got to the beginning, and maybe even, like I said, half of season 4, I was like, yeah, this is absolutely the superior show.
Okay, then.
Absolutely,
I'll have to
it
watch
is.
some of that.
Yeah, it's excellent.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of...
I don't want to tell you anything about that. You just got to watch it for yourself. It is insanely thought-provoking, that show.
What's that streaming on?
It's not streaming on anything right now.
Oh, no?
It was on Prime, and that's how I was watching it, and that's why I've stopped, because I don't have an easy way to watch it.
Gotcha.
I've got a couple seasons on. I think I actually have the first 3 seasons now on disc, and then I'll buy the rest of it at some point, but I can also borrow it from Adam. He's got it, and I was borrowing that from him for a while. But I was watching it on my tablet and all over the house at the old place, and then they stopped streaming it, and then I couldn't do that anymore, so I had to sit in one place and do it, and that's made it harder to get back to it, because I was binging it real hard. Alexi and I have been threatening to do a series on that for a long time, and we still have not gotten to that, and so I've got to finish that. I've got to do that. But we're supposed to do a show with Jim Butcher because he really wants to do a series on that with us. And I'm chomping at the bit to do that with him, and I just haven't gotten to it. So
You were gonna do that last year because that's when the show was set.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Interesting.
But Jim Butcher, if you don't know, is the author of the Dresden Files, and he's a big author, and he is good friends with Alexi, and Alexi is his publicist. And Alexi pitched that to him, and he was really excited about it. And we were going to do live shows on it with Jim Butcher, and we just haven't gotten to it yet. But that's still planned. We're supposed to do that. And Jim Butcher is one of Eric's favorite writers, if not Eric's favorite writer. So Eric also really, really wants to be there with us to do it, and it just hasn't happened yet. But anyway, I don't know how much interest there's going to be in that, but
that would definitely be a boon for anybody to get to talk with one of their favorite writers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How would you rate the ones that you've seen, Jason?
Yeah, so I would probably put Babylon 5 at the bottom.
He always called it Babylon 5.
I like the whole water stuff and everything, and then
the water stuff.
Not water stuff. That's a different show.
You don't even know what show we're talking about.
Yeah, I forgot. That's
Garibaldi.
Yeah, Garibaldi. Yeah, I really like that show. And then, but I would probably put Stargate before that, and then DS9, and then Firefly. Probably.
You mean going upwards?
Yeah.
So Firefly's at the top right now?
Yeah.
You've only seen 4 episodes of that show.
I know, but I've seen more Firefly than basically,
You've seen more DS9 than you've seen Firefly.
I know, but I remember more Firefly than any of those shows because recently seen.
No, Stussy, Eric won't be on the How He Felt About for Wonder Woman 84. I'll be doing that solo because I'm gonna put that out Christmas Day. Because I'm going out of town right after that, and if I don't go ahead and do it right after I watch it, I'm going to have to wait several days, and I really want to go ahead and get that out for people, and I kind of don't want to be on vacation thinking about work, if that makes any sense. I kind of hate that. I kind of hate going days with a thing like rumbling in my head when I need to sit down and review it, and How We Felt About are supposed to be first impressions, and I don't want to go out of town and having not seen Wonder Woman yet, because I might get some of it spoiled by people, and I'm also really excited about that movie, and that was the big movie for this year for me, besides Mulan, and that ended up being the worst thing ever. I was really stoked for that, and then oh my god. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to work on Christmas and get that knocked out. But I'm gonna watch that with my family that night on HBO Max, and then yeah.
So I read an article.
No, Carl, I do like Babylon 5. So
I read an article earlier today about how to outfit your home theater for watching Wonder Woman. The new Wonder Woman movie when it comes out, and it didn't hold a candle to what you've got going on here.
What does it want you to put, like lassos everywhere?
Well, no,
and put like a big tiara on top of your television.
You probably want some semblance of good sound and a big picture and
check.
I was like, you've got all this stuff and in 2 different places in your house, no less. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got 2 home theater setups. I would like to get the screen upstairs bigger at some point because I've got more space on that wall. So I could totally get a larger screen and build that back out, or build that out by another 20 or 30 inches, I think. And then I think that
you
much
could put
probably.
That screen down here then.
I wouldn't do that. No, because that sits on the floor. I like having a ceiling mounted down here, but I can't ceiling mount upstairs. So but
we can
this
break
is not
that, too.
interesting to anybody else. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of the super chats. Thanks very much. I said rapid fire, and then a couple of those were more open-ended than I realized. So apologies from me. John Ty, I'm sorry, Lewis Cox, £5 super chat. Thanks very much. The Muppets Christmas Carol and Muppets Treasure Island are my two favorite Muppet movies. That is true for my wife as well. My favorite is still the original Muppet movie. I don't think we've ever surpassed that.
My favorite is Christmas Carol.
I like the Muppets quite a bit as well, but I don't think we ever beat the Muppet movie. And then Great Muppet Caper and Muppets Take Manhattan, I've only seen once or twice each, so I can't speak to those real well. The only thing I ever remember about... well, actually, I can't remember which one it was in. I think it's Muppets Take Manhattan, but maybe I'm wrong about... No, it must be Caper. There's a scene where there's a bunch of Muppets that all have to share like a folded into the wall bed in like this really crappy like tiny New York apartment, and like it flips down and there's a bunch of Muppets. That's all I remember from that movie. It's something about an exchange around a park bench, but I don't remember the rest of that movie.
That used to be in one of the blurbs when you'd see the thing at the beginning of the VHS
Really?
tape
They
talking
mentioned
about
that?
the Muppet movies. It would show in one of the clips of the different Muppet movies talking about the Muppets. That's what I remember it from, because I've never seen Great Muppet Caper and I've never seen Muppets Take Manhattan.
That's really funny. Steve Murphy, they kind of just end up being the same plot after a while when you take the adaptation ones out. Yeah, that's fair. That was Caper, says Blue Dragon 5. Okay, I couldn't remember. John Ty, $5 super chat. After Future State, and I'm not up on current comics right now. People have been bringing up Future State a little bit, and I don't know if that's what that 5G thing has transformed into. I think that's what that is. I know it's aging some characters up and changing some mantles around, but that's all I know about it. After Future State, DC will have 17 or 16 ongoings, but will also have miniseries and one-shots as well. Thoughts on Joker having an ongoing series? I had not heard about that. I would just have to look at it and see what we're doing with that. I don't know if that's tied at all to other recent Joker things we've done. I don't even know if Three Jokers is in continuity, because I know that was a Black Label thing. I think that was a Black Label thing. This is how out of touch I am. I know that just recently finished, and I'm curious about it. I'll try to sit down and read that soon. And I know that Tom King's Batman and Catwoman book just started, and that was, I don't know if this has changed, that was where Phantasm was supposed to land. And that got pushed back a lot. Like, that was supposed to be the beginning of this last year, and it's just now finally coming out. And that wasn't pushed back just because of COVID, but I think that probably pushed it back even a lot further because, of course, everything stopped for a while. We didn't have comics for, like a month and a half, 2 straight months. But anyway, so I don't know about their new ongoings, and I had not heard about that Joker thing, so I would have to look into it. But I am glad. I mean, it sucks the way it's had to happen, because there have been some layoffs there, a lot more so far there than at Marvel, I do believe. William at my comic shop, the last time I was there, said you wouldn't believe, looking at the solicitations in like my orders, just how much of DC now is just Batman. It was just you look at the orders, it's just Batman, like everything else has been canceled. It's like all they have is Batman stuff now. It's not just Batman, but he said it feels like that. It's like you look at it and that's all you see, and that's because they fired a bunch of their staff and they're downsizing really hard, and they've gotten rid of a bunch of other arms of their superhero stuff as well. Like DC Direct is no longer a thing, and yeah, it's sad, but at the same, so I don't like how it's happening, and I hate seeing people lose their jobs, of course, but the good thing about it is, it's sort of like the pandemic, where I don't wish what's happened on anybody, folks that have lost their jobs and gotten sick and lost family members and yada, yada, yada. I mean, obviously I wouldn't, and the economical effects, like, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But sometimes there are nice side effects to tragedy and horrible things that happen, and when it comes to the comic side of this, that is dropping down to fewer books. 17 or 18 is what it should have been anyway, or maybe 20, 25, but I mean, we had way too many books. It's finally going to be few enough that if somebody wanted to make that their hobby and the only thing they purchased, they might conceivably, on even a blue-collar paycheck, buy close to everything, or even half of it, which was not possible before. And we've been inching ever closer to everything being at the $5 price tag. I think still the majority of things are at $4, but I'm seeing a lot of things creep up to $5. And I said when we got to that point, I wasn't sure if I could continue buying new right away, because I can't get my mind around $5 a book. And I have lost interest overall in current lately anyway, so I kind of fell out before that happened. I'm still checking in with some things, and I've still got some pulls, but I'm buying things and stacking them and not reading very much. So I go to the comic shop once or twice, not even once or twice a month at this point, probably once a month, once every couple months, and I pick up a big stack, and then I kind of forget about them, and there's a few things that I still make sure and read right away, but I don't know, I need to get back in the loop, because there are some things that I've checked out here and there that have ended up being really good. You know, it's easy to get in the mindset of, so this stuff's not for me anymore, I don't like it anymore, and you don't know what they're publishing, so you don't know if you like it, right? So they put out that Harley Quinn book in Black Label that somebody requested. The only reason I read that is because somebody requested it, and I did a review on it, and I thought it was wonderful. It was fantastic. It was the best Harley Quinn story we've had. And anyway, so there has been some really good stuff lately, but I just haven't been keeping up real hard.
Should we do a question?
A pre-written question? Sure, go right ahead, man.
I forgot what they were called. So pre-written question. Sabertech.
Hi, Sabertech. He's been popping in these shows a lot lately. Welcome, man.
What is your favorite Christmas-themed comic?
Batman Noel.
My favorite is Klaus.
Well, okay. Batman Noel is second to Klaus. That's true. I had my head in the DC space. Yes, Klaus. Have I had you read any of the one-shots yet?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. Did you read the Coke Wars one? Because that one was really fun. They had they had a Soda Wars thing.
I'm pretty sure.
Because
I think I watched. I think I read every Klaus thing, but I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna read them again.
We need to read those this year. Yeah. I don't know if Morrison has put out one this year, but I suspect he has. He's had an oversized one-shot every year since that mini finished, and most of them have been really good. The one last year was really fun because was it Crying Snowman, or was it? No, I think it was even a different one. I forget what the story was. The one he did last year was almost a totally silent comic. It didn't have words, and it was really, really good. But I forget what happens in that because I only read it the one time. It's been a while.
Me too.
But
it's been a year since I've read it. Since I've read Klaus.
People keep asking me what comic things I want to see finally adapted to movies, and I always struggle to come up with mainstream stuff because we've done so much of everything I ever wanted, whether it was done well or not. But Klaus is the top of that list right now, and I would really like to see an animated film done that way because I think Dan Mora's art would translate really well to animation, and it would just be a really dynamic thing. And I also think that everybody should experience that story, and a lot of people won't. That's where he comes from. That's his first high-profile work, and then, or at least that anybody knows about. Yeah, and did you hear the news that we talked about this the other day? He's going to detective. He's getting detective. He's always wanted to get to do a mainstream Batman book. He's finally getting it, and I'm telling you, he's going to be the next big thing. I really think it's going to be like Greg Capullo all over again. Throw another one at me, man.
Okay. There's a lot, so.
Yeah.
I have one too.
Go ahead, man.
Okay, this one here, Daniel Davis, at Geekvolution. Hey, Cap, what are your favorite?
Hey,
TV
Brandon, you have to
Christmas
read
episodes?
at Geekvolution. Like
Yes.
we know that the question is addressed to us, buddy.
I'm just reading the whole thing here. Hey, Cap.
But the point of that tag is just that we know it's a question as opposed to they're talking to
I
each
do
other.
know that.
Just read the question, man. What's up?
Hey, Cap, what are your favorite TV Christmas episodes? My personal ones are Arnold's Christmas from Hey Arnold and Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas from Community.
I actually was going to skip that one because that's another thing that I end up answering every single year, and I just don't have any new responses to it. We're going to do a couple of my favorite Christmas cartoons tonight on After Dark. We're gonna watch and talk over. So we're going to do the Tick Christmas episode, and we're going to do the Christmas with a Joker episode from animated series Batman. But yeah, so those are a couple of my favorites. The Christmas Justice League episode that I reviewed on Rewind a couple of years ago is up there now. I like that a lot. And then I still like Lexmas. I did from Smallville, I did a commentary on that last year with Eric. But yeah, Jason, you probably haven't seen enough stuff to know like holiday episodes from TV shows, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge thing when I was a kid, but I don't think there's a lot of that with more recent things that you've watched anyway.
But not that I've watched.
Not that you've watched, yeah. Carl Maxey,
is gonna throw this at me.
Carl Maxey, $5 super chat. When the X-Men comics, wait a minute. The X-Men comes into the MCU. Will they use the X-Men in their current status quo in the comics, living on an island, or the 90s version? I don't think that they would just immediately start adapting from Hickman. I think that would be really strange and would probably isolate audiences because it's not what they're familiar with. With those characters, you'd have so much backstory you'd have to deal with, and it would be too much like Inhumans. So I'll be real surprised if that's where they go with that. I could see them eventually getting there. That would at least be an explanation as to why we've never seen them. But again, it would be Inhumans all over again. No, I think they will. I think you're spot on about the 90s thing, though. I think that they will lean real hard into the nostalgia and iconography from that show, because sometimes MCU will go to more of a comic book flavor, at least in the look of a thing, like they did with Thor in the first place. And we didn't do, we went with a more grounded, realistic looking version of X-Men with Singer. So I would think just for the sake of setting themselves apart, they'll try to go back to that. Plus, they made a big deal out of trying to be as classic Stan Lee with their Spider-Man as they could. So X-Men, they're going to go all the way back. I've never had this thought before. I guess I could also see it. I don't think they'll do this. I was going to say, I could almost see them try to do X-Men as a period piece again, as either just like in a separate parallel universe, because we're clearly about to start doing a bunch of multiverse stuff, or as another secret thing somehow nobody knew about. I hope we don't do that, but I can see them trying that. I don't think that's the most likely thing, though. I think doing something more like the 90s, at least for iconography, is what they'll likely do. T-Edge1, $10 super chat. Thanks, Tom. I've had a very tiring day at work. Okay, so I'm going to use these $5 bills to buy Jason and Freddie something for Christmas. What president? I want to say you're saying what president. I'm just going to read what it says. What president are you guys most looking forward to for Christmas? Merry Christmas. Jason, what are you most hoping that you get?
President Jesus Christ.
And Tom, thanks for that. Jason, remind me later, and I'll make sure that that's what I actually do with that super chat money. So you and Freddie get a $5 present.
Okay. Cool.
You want to say thanks to Tom?
Thanks, Tom.
Anyway, so what are you most hoping to get for Christmas, Jason? And it can cost. What president do you most want for Christmas?
I want Trump for Christmas.
Don't say that.
Okay.
Don't say that out loud.
Okay.
Why though?
So.
He's just saying who the president currently is. That's all he's saying. Nobody freak out.
Wait, what's it called again?
What president do you want? What president do you want?
I want gaming headphones and Lego Mario and
That's a really cool.
Pokemon
Is it Lego
Sword.
Mario?
Yeah, they've got a whole line now.
Oh my goodness.
It's cool looking.
That's awesome.
And there's also a Lego NES with a TV they put out. It's like $500 or something, or $350 or something, and yeah, it's cool looking.
If they make it,
Everybody's saying, Vitaly's saying cancel Jason.
No. The next generation canceled.
You just had to say it.
sorry.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, I don't really have anything in particular that I'm wanting for Christmas this year from anybody. I'm more excited about stuff I'm giving my kids, but.
And I'm excited about the thing that I'm giving you.
Oh, cool. Do you have, as an adult, do you have that these days, Brandon, where there's like a thing on your list that you just really hope somebody gives you?
I mean,
You ever had that?
I actively ask people not to get me anything, honestly.
Oh, do you really?
Like my mom and my sister, I'm like, honest to goodness, like if my mom's gonna get me something anyway, and my sister's always gonna get me something, and I'm always gonna get her something. But it's like, I don't need anything, really. If I get to see you guys, like, I'm cool with that. So, only when I'm spending money on myself, which I do a little bit more around Christmas time. And this year I replaced my mattress, and let me tell you, I was super excited, and I was not disappointed. So the mattress I've really been looking forward to, and what can I say?
It's the little things.
I'm
gonna.
adult.
So, yeah, I know. It stops getting interesting after you're a certain age.
It gets more practical.
Exactly. Saber Tag already asked this question, but I really like this, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it. What do you think is the key to keeping characters that don't change, like Batman and Captain America and Punisher, from stagnating story-wise? That's a great question. So it's a couple of things, I think. It's constantly challenged their values in different ways, head-on, from different places. So you're looking at every aspect of their value system, and you're seeing what ways society or individuals might push back on that, and keep making it difficult for them to not change. So if the stakes aren't high, if the conflict isn't there, those characters, it's going to seem too easy for those characters to continue to refuse to change. If nearly every time they're going to have a static character arc, that character arc, a flat character arc, which is different from a character being wooden and one-dimensional. You can have very three-dimensional, interesting, layered, flawed characters that still, by and large, refuse to change. And just like with a dynamic character arc, you have to make sure that you keep making it difficult for them, that you keep throwing, hard obstacles in their way, and they might persevere at the end, or they might refuse to change in a way they should change. In some ways, sometimes like the Punisher, by the end. You can also do this in a tragic way, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't interesting watching them get to that place. And I also think that those characters can change in some smaller, more subtle ways, where there are still some life lessons that they might have to learn, but their main value system is the thing that they refuse to change about themselves. So just because when it comes to, like Batman is never going to pick up a gun and shoot someone, he's always going to hold to his standards when it comes to that. He's got a rigid way of looking at the world and a rigid way of defining justice, but he might start to change a little bit, and he might budge a little bit on the way he looks at family, say, or the way he looks at friendship, say, and he can change on those things, either by becoming more rigid or becoming softer, and still not budge too much on his value system. So those are the two things I would say for that. And then, thanks, Tom. Tom put in another $5 super chat. Here's Mikey's $5. Buy him something nice with this $5 bill. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. You guys are the best on YouTube. Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it, man. I saw this ridiculous article today, Brandon.
Yeah.
That was like letting people know who don't that fake movie from Home Alone isn't a real movie. And it's like, I forget the name of that, but it was like so it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. And it was like, is that a real movie? Click on this article to find out. And it's like, no, it's not. And I'm pretty sure most people that know that movie know that. And then if you watch isn't it like Something Angels or something? I forget. And then if you watch the second movie, it's even more obvious that couldn't have been real, because the sequel to that ends up being Christmas themed.
Mm-hmm.
It's very silly.
I would have clicked on that link just to see what they tried to tell people, because I thought that was kind of common knowledge. Like, that's one of the things everybody knows about that movie.
Yeah. Especially because that was it wasn't Jack Palance. Who was that? It was a really well-known actor, at the age that he was in that time period, pretending to be in an old movie from the 50s. It's ridiculous. Angels with filthy souls. That's what it is. Thank you. But yes, of course that's not real. Blue Dragon 5, if you were going to craft a death trap where 60s Batman dies in order to save... Good Lord, in order to save Robin, what would the death trap be and what villain is behind it? That is an awesome question.
I know what you're going to say. With villains, not death trap.
Go ahead. Riddler, of course. It's got to be Riddler, right? Yeah, what would the Riddler death trap be? I almost think it'd be fun if you made it something that he had done before, but he just did it better this time. It's like, Batman's like, I've been here before, but he remembers how, like, because why don't they ever do that? Why is it like, well, we saw how he got out of it last time, so we're just going to tweak it. Like, we never do that. It would. Like, it should just be the spikes again. Was it Riddler with the spikes? It should just be like the spikes closing in again, but this time for some reason he can't get out of it the way he did.
There
That's
to
really
be
morbid.
riddle
That's
trivia.
like really morbid.
Oh, there's some really scary ones, yeah, and that's part of why. Sorry, give me a second. It's part of when I was a kid, I didn't realize how campy it was supposed to be because as like a 5 or 6 year old, you're looking at these death traps, you're like, that looks horrifying.
It's
and
like
sometimes
realistic to you as a kid.
And sometimes and people always talk about that with that show, but especially with the death traps, and especially in the first season, because some of those were legitimately kind of scary and creepy looking, even if Batman got out of them in the most absurd way possible. Because as a kid, you're not thinking about how unrealistic that is. You just go, it's Batman and he's gonna die, and he got out of it because he's Batman, right? But they would sometimes also use stock footage of things that were kind of scary. So there's one where King Tut has got Robin over a plank with a pit of crocodiles underneath it, and they're just using stock footage of crocodiles.
That's hilarious.
So you're a kid, you're like, holy crap, there's crocodiles down there. But yeah, I don't know what the death trap would be. I gotta think about it.
So if it's Riddler, of course this wouldn't be a 60s Batman, but I would want it so, like, Batman would be like, it would he would have to have some way to make it so that Batman is like stuck to a chair. He's stuck to a chair, and then they have like a movie, and it would look kind of like the room in Lost Season 3.
Oh, I know. That's a great idea.
And
so it's like creepy subliminal messaging, like flashing all around you,
and then it would like kill his brain.
I can't beat that. No, that's perfect. And also, there's nothing in your utility belt for that, especially if he forces your eyes open somehow. Like, there's nothing in your utility belt for that.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, that's killer.
Jason on fire once again.
On fire tonight. Way better answers than my answers. Yeah, because that room was like it reminded me of the Mind's Eye from TNG, but it's that that's that episode with the Romulans kidnapped Geordie LaForge and they do the thing with his eyes. But I was also reminded of the boat scene in Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing. And yeah, it'd be like if the Riddler...
That's some psychedelic stuff.
It'd be like if the Riddler did the boat scene from Willy Wonka. There's no knowing where we're going.
At that point, he would be... I've drawn a blank on his name. The guy that Willy Wonka says is the bad guy.
Yeah, Slugworth.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was gonna say something with a life-size question mark, but I think that's so much more interesting.
Yeah,
that's really good.
It's either that, or have Batman strapped in a chair again, but have a screen with riddle trivia, and if Batman gets a riddle wrong, then like it kills him.
That's really good. Carl Maxey Cap, isn't the Riddler box the perfect death trap? Yeah, I mean that's good too. Are you talking about the one from the animated series? Is that what we're talking about? But I was also going to mention, Brandon, that the other scariest one, maybe for me the scariest one, I think I talked about this when I did the rewind on that show, was when they get when they get cast as like wax dolls. And they get they get waxed like head to toe.
Oh wow!
And they're like stuck in a cast of that.
Yeah.
And like that, when I was a kid, that was freaky.
That's
and like he's barely able to breathe out of it. Yeah. And like that would be an insane way for Batman to die.
Are you claustrophobic, Dad?
I am a little claustrophobic. Yeah. I'm not like storm claustrophobic.
I'm not claustrophobic like at all.
I'm not like Garrick from DS9, but. I'm like, I will make a snowstorm.
Do not be afraid. I will make a snowstorm. So.
Lewis Cox, Cap, when will the Arrowverse end? I mean, not a moment too soon, man. I don't know. It's hard to say. They're still making shows, like they're still greenlighting shows.
They're still green arrowing shows.
Well, no, actually, ironically, no, because that show is done.
Arrow is done.
But everything else so far is still on. Supergirl is ending. Flash is getting at least one more season, I think. But like I haven't heard anything about Legends getting canceled, and then Superman and Lois is supposed to start next year, and we're getting a second season of Batwoman, but I want to say that gets canceled after that because nobody cares about that show and nobody's watching it, and they're having to get a different lead, and instead of just recasting, they made a different character, so people really aren't going to care now.
Oh my goodness!
No, it's insane.
How do you do that to a show?
I just feel like
your show.
if that's the problem is that it's more than half of what's on their network, or about half of what's on their network.
Yeah.
So when they cancel that, like they're gonna have to do it slowly, I would think. And as long as they're still like greenlighting shows and putting new things into production, I can't tell you. It's nuts. But yeah, there was supposed to be a spin-off. They did a backdoor pilot, and it was terrible. For the second to last episode of Arrow, it was really sorry of them the way they did this, because the second to last episode of that show doesn't even have the main character in it, because they jump to the future and they do a backdoor pilot for a show that was supposed to be called Green Arrow and the Canaries. And
it sounds like a band name.
It does. And their new Arrow would be Oliver Queen's daughter from the future, which they had done a time travel shenanigans, brought her in earlier in the season, and she couldn't have begun to carry her own show. And I haven't heard anything. She's just not good. She's not an experienced actress. Like she's not horrible. She might have been able to get better, but it wasn't time to give her a show. She wasn't ready for that.
I thought they were still doing that.
What I was going to say is I haven't heard word about that in a while, so I don't know if that's still on the table or not. I can't imagine anybody watches that.
Just to see how bad it is.
John, I want to be curious about Superman and Lois, but I've been burned so much. Like, they don't know how to write shows anymore. The last season that I watched of Flash was better than it had been and had some okay stuff in it, but it was just tolerable. It still wasn't good. I don't know. Rohith, Black Lightning is canceled after 4 seasons. I had heard that. What's left is... And that was only, roundabout way, though, part of the Arrowverse, because, yeah, it got roped into Crisis finally, but it was in a different universe. What is left is Flash Legends, Superman and Lois, Batwoman, Wonder Girl, Naomi. I don't even know what that is. What is Naomi? And Stargirl. So Stargirl premiered on DC Universe, and they're not making original content anymore. That's about to go to just a comic service, and then it's supposed to go over to CW, which is the main reason I didn't watch that show, because I saw the pilot, and I thought it was fine, and people swore by it and said it was great, and I was like, yeah, but once it moves over to the CW, it is likely to be just another one of those shows, so I don't care. But anyway, Daniel Davis, Black Lightning was an afterthought show. Yeah, it definitely was. And they didn't have it in that universe in the first place because they wanted it to be like an old superhero that comes back, and like a middle-aged superhero that hasn't done it in a while and comes back, and you can't do that in that universe because Oliver was kind of the first one, except they retroactively have like the Justice Society and stuff, I think. Like, they have characters going farther back, but I guess they're a secret. I don't know. At that point, like, they were retconning things so hard right and left, they might as well just do whatever they feel like doing. If the show's good, I wouldn't care all that much. Anyway, okay. 5590 ERS down on a super chat. Thanks, man. Favorite Jim Carrey movies? Well, I'm a broken record. Everybody knows I'm a big Jim Carrey fan. I love The Mask. I love Man on the Moon.
Bruce Almighty.
I love Bruce Almighty.
I love Bruce Almighty.
I love Truman Show.
Same.
It would be quicker to list the Jim Carrey movies I don't like. But and then there's hit and miss stuff. Like, I like watching The Cable Guy. It's not a good movie, but it's fun.
I've seen the last half of that show
or that
movie.
Yeah.
I want to see that whole movie because I liked the end of it, but I didn't actually see the whole thing.
Was that Jim Carrey in the Majestic?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one. I wanted to.
It's sappy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not a great movie.
Disappointing.
I liked it a lot the first time I saw it, and later on realized that it was kind of an emotionally manipulative experience. And it's a really weird, it kind of hit my sensibilities because it was all about, like, film and the, like, not the history of film, but like a small town movie theater, like going out of business and stuff. Like that's that movie. And I was working in a theater at the time, so it like hit me in all the right places. But it's a kind of a bad amnesia story, and I don't know.
Yes Man is one of my favorites.
Yes Man is kind of middle of the road. It's the weakest of what I consider the Liar Liar trilogy, because Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, and Yes Man are all basically the same story, and they get, I don't want to say progressively worse. I think Liar Liar and Bruce Almighty are actually on par as far as their respective stories go, and then Yes Man is a step down. Like, it's entertaining. I like it. The biggest problem, it doesn't have as good of a script, I don't think, as Bruce Almighty, but the bigger problem, and I don't know, the story writing is a little bit different in that, I will say. It's basically the same story again, except it's for a slightly older audience. But the problem is, ironically, after I said that, it's pretending like Jim Carrey is still the age he was when he made Liar Liar. So his love interest in that is way too young for him, and they never address it, and I cannot get my mind around that.
Really?
Like,
I actually dug the love interest in that movie.
yeah, I like that actress, but those two together just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And we do this a lot, especially with comedic actors, where we keep casting them in the same kinds of roles, but we don't acknowledge that they are not the age they were in their heyday, 20 years before that.
That's true.
So, like, Jim Carrey can't just keep doing his Jim Carrey thing. Like, you have to keep aging him up a little bit, or it gets kind of awkward. And she seemed like half his age, and it was kind of weird. Yeah, I haven't seen Eternal Sunshine in a really long time. I just can't speak to it right now. I loved it when I saw it.
Yeah, that is that would have to be probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
I know what one of your least favorite Jim Carrey movies.
Oh God, what's that?
Sonic.
Yeah, but he's the best part about it.
Yeah, like he's good in it, but that movie is not good.
What's funny is putting that with other Jim Carrey movies. It's still, I mean, it's not the bottom, like. Because he does some raunchy stuff that I don't care for. Like, I'm not a big fan of, like, Dumb and Dumber and that kind of thing. And when I was a kid, I really liked Ace Ventura, but it hasn't aged great. That first movie is still a lot better than that sequel, certainly. And then Me, Myself, and Irene was intolerable. Like, just impossible to sit through.
Never even tried.
Azim, Merry Christmas in advance, guys. Here's to more superhero films set during the most magical time of the year. Yeah, sure. It would be nice to get more Christmas movies. People keep asking me if Shazam is a Christmas movie, and I've only seen that the one time in the theater, so I can't really speak to that at the moment. Nicholas, the number 23 is a very strange movie. I love his performance in that, but it's one of those horror movies where you're kind of wondering how everything you're seeing is possible, and then it just doesn't add up at the end. Jason, it's basically like if the numbers in Lost got a movie and it ended the same way. Because it's like, oh, the number 23 keeps popping up everywhere, and it's driving him crazy. It must mean something, but I don't know what it means. And then when you get to the end, we still don't know what it means, and it's not, yeah. But it's one of Schumacher's more interesting looking movies, I think. Like, I like the way he shot that. I do.
The number 23 should be it should have a sequel called The Number 42. And then a prequel called The Number 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason.
That's great. Or you could actually wrap all this up by just having a movie called 108 Minutes. But anyway, you have to know Lost to know what we're talking about. Jason and I are working on a Lost video, and I don't know if anybody is ever going to get to see it because we're
lost.
We're gonna do it.
Lost.
We're gonna do it. I know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on Patreon.
Even doing that, I don't know if I'll be able to keep it on the channel though, because like you can make a thing unlisted, but if it's got copyright problems, it doesn't matter if it's unlisted. If it gets blocked, it's going to get blocked. It doesn't matter if it's public. It doesn't matter if it's monetized.
Really?
Yeah, because I've had this problem before. Yeah, I had an old music video that I did for Power Rangers where I was using a bunch of Power Rangers footage. And I tried to put it on, like, I had it on the main channel for a while, and then it got blocked, and then years later, I put it on Patreon. People were like, oh, cool, this came back, and then people on Patreon watched it, and then a day later, it was blocked, and, like, I couldn't use it. So anyway, so this is not to be confused with our reviews. Jason and I, on Father and Son, have been reviewing each season of Lost. and we finished shooting those, but we still have a couple more videos to post. But then we're making an amusing, hopefully it will be very funny, video using a bunch of lost clips. And I don't know if anybody's ever going to get to see that, but we're having a lot of fun making it. So
Can I see it?
Yeah. I mean, I can show it to anybody locally, certainly.
Sure, but I was going to make the joke that I'm not anybody. I'm nobody.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hilarious?
No,
I don't know.
you're Brandon.
Okay, guys, it is about 8:15. We're going to need to go ahead and quit here in a minute unless any more super chats come in. So we'll take another 5 minutes. And if you guys would jump on there and just see if there's any other good questions to answer, pre-written. So last call for super chats. If anybody else wants to put one in and make sure that your topic or question gets talked about, now would be the
Blue
time.
Dragon 5 has a question for me.
And then we're going to go ahead and wrap up at least by 8:30 here. So if there are more of those, we can go for another 10 or 15 minutes. If not, we'll just answer a couple of pre-written, and then we'll jump over to After Dark and hang out with anybody over there that wants to. Like I said, we're going to watch some Christmas cartoons, and then we're going to do some discussion topics. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
So, Blue Dragon 5 has a question for me.
Did you memorize it?
Yes. Jason, and it's really easy to memorize. Jason, what watch are you wearing? I am wearing
That is a pretty easy
Sonic
thing to answer.
watch. Sonic watch, and it spins. Get it? Because it's Sonic.
Jokes are always funnier.
When you explain them. So your watch is a spin dash watch?
Yes.
And then it pops open
and then
you
it
can see the
pops
time.
open. You can see the time.
I wondered what that was the other day. I saw that, and I thought, oh, that looks cool.
Is he just wearing a weird bracelet? Like, what is happening?
And it's kind of big. I always have to go... Stuff.
Jedi Knight, I don't know the thing about Ricky Gervais at the Oscars, man. I have just not been keeping up enough to know what you're talking about there. Jason, check the comments, man. Just see if there's anything else we want to tackle. Okay, Brandon, make it good this time, man.
Saber Tech.
Make it good.
As a Riddler fan, how excited are you to finally see a dark and serious version of the film?
I mean, I'm excited, just like most everybody else. We've already answered some stuff from Sabertech, Brandon. But yeah, that's no, I'm certainly stoked about that. It was inevitable if we did if we kept making more, darker Batman movies, because Riddler has gotten more serious in comics lately and video games and stuff. Like, we've really reinvented that character in a lot of ways and gotten him past the reputation as being a really silly character. So that's good, but I hope he is still fun and entertaining in some way, because I think we can sometimes go too sadistic with that character. Mutali, I do not like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I really don't. I think it's really generic. I don't hate it. I mean, there's some okay things in that, but overall it's exactly what I expected. And I still say that a lot of people would likely have had a different tune on that if they hadn't changed, if they left that movie exactly as it is, but not changed the design for Sonic. I mean, I think that's the thing that won a lot of people over. And honestly, that kind of drove me a little crazy. I was like, I don't think you... Like, with respect, if you like that material, that's great. But I think a lot of people would not have accepted it if it was exactly that story, but had that terrible Sonic design. Yeah. And they wouldn't just be talking about the design. They would be complaining about some of the same stuff I've been complaining about, I think. But what do I know?
Quite a lot, I'd say.
Let's see.
I mean, like, a couple things.
If there's any more questions.
Mutale, I mean to ask Jason, not Cap. Oh, about the Riddler thing? No. What is he talking about? Oh, well, you wrote my name, though. Jason, do you like the Sonic movie?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I like it more than Dad. Like, I don't love that movie. It's, I kind of like the Mario movie better. Just because it's worse. It's
but worse in a more entertaining way?
Yeah, but, like, it's like you like Jurassic House better than Lost World, right?
Yeah.
But it's
a
still
worse
really
movie. No, that's a great comparison. Absolutely.
Like when you think of Mario, you think of Goombas, like the tiny things. No, these things, these reptile things, and
with tiny heads.
and no Peach, Daisy, from Mario Land, but only kind of. And Yoshi's a Velociraptor, and like what's? Yeah.
You want to just do your own show next week?
Yeah.
I'd love to see what that would look like, actually. Just like throw Jason to the wolves and let him do his own live show, and just
Yeah.
mod from Skype. Like,
It amazes me the stars who are in that Mario movie, and how bad it is.
I mean, it didn't have a huge star-studded cast or anything. It's got people you recognize, but it wasn't
I call them
anybody
stars.
huge. Yeah, no, that's about what you would have expected right then for that kind of production. Where, yeah, I mean, it was, well, Dennis Hopper was like the bad guy in everything right then. But yeah, like the Leguizamo, like he wasn't a huge get. Like he was in a lot of stuff.
No, and I don't think that necessarily Bob Hoskins was either, but I liked him in things I'd seen him in, and
Yeah, me too. I mean, again, they're
Popular
characters
around
you
that time.
recognize. When you say I'm surprised by the stars, and that, why though? Would you expect that to be a bunch of nobodies? Like a thing like that's not going to perform if it doesn't have, especially at that time. Like you're gonna cast somebody
guess that's
sort of
true.
recognizable, or you're not gonna make that movie. Like,
well, I with so many things, I failed to think about the time in which they were presented, of course, but because I saw that much later, but I do see your point on that.
Jenna Knight says Bob Hoskins was the biggest. Yeah, and a few years after he had done anything major. Well, no, I say that. Roger Rabbit was what, 88? 89,
so.
or was it even a little bit before that? So that would have been the next thing he did, probably, because that movie's like 91, 92. And yeah, I know DeVito was originally supposed to be Mario, and
Really?
that would have been a much bigger
That
get.
yeah. But why would you make a Mario movie not about Mario? Like it's about Mario, but it's
No, Luigi
Really
gets the love
not.
story.
yeah.
Yeah. You just want to complain about that for a while?
Sure.
Is that your old plan?
Oh, and Wizard. The Wizard.
Oh, yes, the wizard.
I like the Wizard way better than the Mario movie because the Wizard is actually kind of good. Like,
Well, I don't agree with
kind
that.
of. Not. Okay, I can complain about.
You want to do a
lot of
commentary on that?
things. Sure. Yeah, with Brandon.
Tom, $2 super chat. Did you decide to do what you were going to do about streaming? Tom, you got to be more specific. Are you talking about the Wonder Woman thing? Yeah, I'm not going to do a blank commentary on Wonder Woman. I'm just going to do how we felt about, or how I felt about that evening. Unless I have Jason on. The way Jason's performing this evening, I might put him in that video.
Jason, you've graduated another level.
Rohith, very possibly. Rohith, in your mind, how would you distinguish Cluemaster from being a Riddler ripoff in comics or other? That's a really good question. Or other media. The only thing interesting about him is that he's Stephanie Brown's dad, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, he was a former game show host. I think, well, at least in some iterations. I don't know Cluemaster that well, so it's hard to. It's hard to really weigh in on that. I feel like I need to read more and get more information about that character. I need to go back and read all of Stephanie Brown's Batgirl. I've read like the first arc and loved it, but I haven't read past that. I've never talked about it on camera. But yeah, I guess the only thing that's really different from Riddler is that he seems to be a little bit, at least in the stuff I've looked at, a little bit savvier in organized crime and stuff, maybe. It's almost like if he was an intentional Riddler ripoff, where he's got a similar kind of motif and gimmick, but he's not crazed and obsessed in the same way. Like, I don't think Cluemaster is a psychopath. I think he's just a criminal that's like, maybe a little ahead of the curve, where he's like, well, if you're in Gotham, the only way people are going to pay attention to you is if you're wearing an outfit and you have a gimmick. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are versions of Cluemaster where he's just an absolute nutcase and he's obsessed with clues the same way Riddler is obsessed with riddles. But I don't think he has that same compulsion like Riddler does, at least in stuff I've looked at. But I could be talking out of the other side of my face. This is not a character I know that well.
Two-Face.
John, out of my Two-Face. John Ty, $5 super chat. Which is better, Detective Pikachu or the live-action Sonic movie.
Detective
Pikachu
Pikachu.
by like 3 or 4 levels, I think. Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, definitely.
That's not a perfect movie. It plays it safe in some places. I think it is a lot more inventive. And I like that that was made by people that really like Pokemon and wanted to start from a world that was pre-established. And you might complain that it's too fan servicey, but I'll take that over a Sonic movie that doesn't care at all about the Sonic iconography or lore or anything. Like, it's night and day when it comes to the lores, I think. Where and like and also I was kind of more interested in the Detective Pikachu story, certainly. But yeah, I mean, it's a somewhat play it safe kids movie too, like the Sonic movie, but I think it's more creative overall.
Okay.
So yeah, guys, I think we're gonna call it a day, unless there was something you wanted to say.
No.
Rokeith says Cluemaster is completely sane, so you're right on the money in regards to your take on him. Oh, good, I got it right. Cool, I'm excited about that. Hey, Brandon.
Yes, Captain.
And do you have any final thoughts before we end the show this evening? Is there anything else that you just really are chomping at the bit to mention or talk about? Because I've just been answering a lot of questions. You haven't got to say much.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything that I've seen. Oh, actually, what was it that I saw earlier that they were going to bring in? Oh, yes. They were going to bring, apparently they're bringing Night Court back with John Larroquette.
Of course they are, because they got to bring back freaking everything. Really? Okay.
And I know that the guy who played the Judge Harry, he passed away some years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to work, but Night Court holds, you know.
Is the big tall guy, the big tall bald guy, still alive? Is that guy still around?
I think he is.
I don't even know. I always thought he could have played the Tig.
Yeah?
Yeah. You ever thought of that? Go back and watch that show. That guy could have been the Tig.
I actually do want to revisit that show because I remember I used to like sneak away to the TV at night and like watch that show.
It was always on late. Yeah, I loved that show.
I was a little bit young for it, but I still liked it. You know,
I think Jason would like that show.
Like,
that's a fun show.
Seeing reruns, you know, with, of course, Brent Spiner's famous character on that show too.
Right.
And liking Star Trek, you know. That's the only thing I wanted to mention today was I heard that they're bringing that back in some fashion. I don't know very much other than that's happening.
I mean, I'll give it a shot, maybe. Like, I liked that show. That's not a thing I need a reunion of, but...
Sure. But, you know, lately that's what we get.
At the very least, that does seem like a concept that you could modernize, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff where we'll come back and try to do exactly the same thing before, but it's a little too cynical, and like it can't be exactly what it was because it would feel weird living in the past, but at the same time it pretends like it's doing that while simultaneously trying to update, and that gets really awkward. X-Files had that problem, of course. You and I have talked about that, and
never did finish that.
But like, you know, Night Court is still a thing that happens. Probably there's still probably courts at night. So you could probably modernize that.
I think you could. You know, the humor would be a little bit different, but I think they could still push the boundaries the way they did in some cases back then.
Yeah, Lewis Cox, I'm with you. I don't know why they're bringing back Dexter. That's ridiculous because that show ended horribly. And, I mean, maybe they think they can finally fix that ending. But, again, it's kind of like that X-Files thing where it's like, if you go back and try, you're really risking just making it worse. I don't know why you do that. I hope I'm turned around on that, though, because it would be nice if that finally got a half-decent ending. I mean, he went off by himself. That is a thing where, I mean, spoiler alert, that the main character of that show is not dead at the end, and he's also not arrested at the end. So you could, and I don't feel like I'm spoiling too much, by virtue of their making more of that show, it's probably not crazy for me to come out and let people know. He doesn't die in that. But, you know, he could still be off being a serial killer, but trying to do the right thing as much as he can as being still a serial killer somewhere else, I guess. So, I mean, there's potentially something else you could do with that, but I hope it's a mini-series. I hope it's like 8 episodes, and I hope that they're doing it just because they know they really screwed up last time. But anyway, well, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. Well, we're actually not calling it a night, me and Brandon. We're going to stick around. In about 15 minutes or so, we'll be starting Captain Logan After Dark, and so join us for more Christmas shenanigans there. If you are not signed up to Patreon, but you want to do that and hang out with us some more, like I said, patreon.com/geekvolution, just the $2 tier, and you will get a link in your email soon in the next 5 minutes or so with that show. And if you are a patron right now, you already know the drill. So look for that link, and I'll see it. Oh, Blue Dragon 5 says 10 episodes. Oh, they've already said. Okay. I knew that was happening, but I had not looked deeply into it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks
and,
for watching, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for watching yourself, Jason. You were awesome tonight. I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, folks. I'm Captain Logan. That was Brandon.
It was.
And that was me.
And Jason.
Ooh.
Oh. Anyway, okay. Bye, folks.
Christmas my true love gave to me.
Leonard Nimoy sings.
4 quesadillas.
Reruns of what's happening.
2 plus 8 is 10.
Hi, my name is Bragg.
Enough. That was pitiful.